At the end of the previous part, it was shown that Duke opened a cave and entered it. Inside, he found a sword protected by a magical spell. Duke remarked that the sword was the legendary one sealed by the very first head of House Lavian, adding that those who coveted it had to face their inner fear and turmoil and were driven to madness by its demonic energy. He mentioned that he wouldn't have come there if it weren't for his deal with the prince, expressing disbelief that the prince wished to use such a demonic sword to secure his position. Duke pondered whether the third prince would be able to control its power. Suddenly, he heard a blast from the western building, which was the Bless residence. Startled, Duke exclaimed that there was a new reaction to mana in the barrier of the western building. 10 minutes ago at Lavian Manor, Helena had completed her homework. The butler acknowledged her accomplishment and, seeing Helena's hesitation, suggested a test to ensure she had understood everything before granting her permission to see the baby. Helena, happy at the prospect of meeting Bless, agreed enthusiastically. The butler then posed a question about the inheritance of strong mana among the members of House Lavian, inquiring about the age at which the path of mana opens up. Helena correctly answered that it could happen as early as 3 years old and as late as 8 years old. With a wicked tone, the butler asked what would happen if a newborn's mana was forced to awaken. Helena responded that an uncontrollable amount of mana would explode, endangering their life, and even if they survived, they wouldn't be able to use magic for the rest of their lives. The butler praised her for her excellent response. The butler explained that giving a mana-amplifying artifact disguised as a gift is a traditional assassination method often used on the head of a mage family. Helena, confused and distressed, questioned the idea of such a gift. The butler confirmed and revealed that the doll she had given to the bastard child was such an artifact. As Helena tried to comprehend this, the butler smirked, mentioning that it had been 2 days since she gave the doll, and the child's mana should start rampaging soon, emphasizing that there can only be one heir to House Lavian. Helena felt queasy, reflecting on the implications of the baby's imminent death from a mana rampage. The butler manipulated her further, claiming it was all for her own good. In fear, Helena realized the gravity of the situation, understanding that the doll she had gifted was the cause. Then a blast occurred. A maid rushed to them, urgently stating that they must evacuate immediately due to an explosion at the western building. Helena, realizing the full gravity of the situation, began to cry. She sprang up, determined not to let the baby die because of her actions, and dashed towards Bless's building, yelling for the little baby. Reflecting on her need to save her, she ran as fast as she could. After the blast, Bless, surrounded by smoke, felt queasy and hurt, unable to see anything. She thought she would live happily in this life, but now feared dying alone again, beginning to cry and desperately calling for help. Just then, she heard a familiar voice calling her name, realizing in her fear that it was Helios. Duke Helios arrived to save her, reassuring Bless that everything was all right now because her father was there. As Bless stared at Helios, she became emotional, reflecting on the comforting power of the words, "Your father is here," realizing their significance in this life. Helios began to carry Bless out of the building. As they moved, Bless noticed the complete mess of the building and wondered what had happened. Suddenly, she heard the laughter of a child, prompting her to reflect on the unexpected sound. At the same moment, Helena was frantically searching the building, calling out for the baby. She was shocked to see her father, Helios, there as well. Helios, concerned, wondered aloud what Helena was doing there. He then addressed her directly, demanding to know why she had come. Helena began to cry, stammering in her confusion and fear, thinking her father was angry because she had put the baby in danger. Helios, concerned for her safety, started to speak, but Helena, trembling, interrupted, pleading for forgiveness. She confessed about giving the doll to the baby and mentioned the explosion, explaining what the butler had told her. Bless, gasping, reflected on the situation, realizing the doll might be the cause of the disaster. She wondered what the butler had made Helena do. Helena, breaking down, sniffled and tried to wipe her tears, apologizing and explaining that she had given the doll to the baby because it was pretty, and she wanted the baby to have it. Bless reflected that it wasn't Helena's fault, understanding that a child who needed her family's love couldn't be blamed. She wanted to reassure Helena that everything was okay. As Helios stepped towards Helena, she squeezed herself in fear of him. Gently, Helios wiped her tears and calmed her down, assuring her that it wasn't her fault and that he wasn't going to scold her. He emphasized that he was on her side and that the baby was all right, so there was no need to cry. Helena, still emotional, asked if she was still his daughter. Helios, with a gentle tone, acknowledged her question, extending his hand toward her and stating the obvious. She was indeed his daughter, Helena von Lavian. Stunned, Helena instantly hugged him tightly. Helios acknowledged that it might not be the best time or place, but he introduced Helena to Bless, revealing that she was her sister. He apologized for the delay in introducing them and encouraged Bless to say hello. Helena mumbled Bless's name and then beamed with joy, introducing herself as Bless's older sister. Bless, experiencing a new feeling, reflected on her past neglect and her loss of hope for familial love. She realized that Helios and Helena were offering her the chance to truly be part of a family. Filled with a sense of hope, Bless wished to live with the family she had finally found. A few days after the explosion, the Western building, which had been in disarray, was rebuilt more quickly than expected. Helios had the butler arrested, freeing Helena from his psychological abuse. Helena and Helios would come and visit Bless together, bringing a sense of peace to House Lavian. With everything that had happened, a mysterious, cloud-like entity appeared, making Bless feel a little uneasy. Bless, curious and uneasy, asked the entity what it was. The entity responded, identifying itself as Mana. Bless reflected on whether this entity was part of the original story or an after-effect of the incident. She recalled hearing a child's laughter after the explosion when she left with her father. Although it didn't seem dangerous, she investigated further and discovered 3 things. Only she could see it could read her thoughts, and it liked her. Considering these facts, Bless concluded that the entity wouldn't cause her harm. Pointing towards the entity, Bless named it Cloudy and called out to it. The Mana entity became happy at receiving a name and enthusiastically accepted it. Bless observed that Cloudy seemed content with the name, but also wondered if it could assist her with her plans. From now on, instead of focusing solely on survival, Bless resolved to prevent House Lavian's downfall. This family was the first she had ever known, and she was determined not to lose them. Her goal was to protect her father and Helena. To achieve this, she planned to alter the original storyline. First, she needed to ensure that Helena didn't develop feelings for the male lead. The current Helena wouldn't do this, but in the original story, she caused trouble for the heroine when she fell for him. Next, Les aimed to strengthen House Lavian so that it couldn't be threatened by anyone. Her advantage as an outsider from another world was her knowledge of the future, which she intended to use to her advantage. Bless contemplated that she still had 20 years before the original story began. Determined to protect her new home, she planned to utilize upcoming developments like newly developed minds, emerging trends, and characters yet to appear. She was willing to take on any role necessary to safeguard House Lavian. Addressing the Mana entity, she called out to Cloudy, asking if it could take her somewhere. She resolved that the first step in her plan was to investigate something inside the butler's room. Helios' expression turned serious as he confronted Ladiette about the mana-amplifying artifact disguised as a doll. He explained that he hadn't sensed anything when he visited Bless's room, implying that Ladiette must have concealed the doll's energy. He glared at her, asking if there was anything she wanted to confess. Ladiette apologized, addressing him as Your Grace, but Helios clarified that he wasn't seeking an apology. He reminded Ladiette of her promise to protect Bless and pointed out that Bless had been endangered as soon as he left. He questioned how he could trust her after she hid the doll's energy. Ladiette explained desperately that she had no choice because the Demon King would awaken soon. Helios was shocked by this revelation, prompting Ladiette to continue, stating that Bless needed to awaken her mana quickly to prepare for the battle against the Demon King. Helios remained firm, stating that nothing was certain yet and they had not received any prophecy. He emphasized that there was no need to endanger Bless by awakening her mana in such a manner, especially without his knowledge or consent. Ladiette countered, questioning whether Helios would have given her permission if she had asked. She reminded him of the purpose of the imperial family and the 4 great houses to fight against the Demon King. She pointed out that House Lavian was the mortal enemy of the Demon King and stressed that he needed to support Bless in this role. Before Helios could respond, a servant burst into the room, yelling that there was an emergency involving Butler Jaegers. Heinrich, addressing Jaegers with authority, commented on the tightened security of House Lavian and implied he had used his power to intervene and save Jaegers. He demanded that Jaegers prove himself worthy of being saved, clearly asserting his position. Head of House Ed, looking at a picture of his daughter Sesha, muttered her name. Heinrich, slightly amused, referred to Bless, questioning her name and finding it amusing. Heinrich reflected on Jaeger's failed attempt, acknowledging that Bless's mana had gone out of control, but she had survived nonetheless. Concerned about the possibility that she might possess the power of House Ed, he saw her as a potential obstacle to his future plans. Heinrich mused that someone like her had been born into House Lavian just as he was about to awaken. He acknowledged that the Lavians were rightly called the mortal enemies of his kind. Heinrich expressed anticipation for the new prophecy that would soon be revealed. Bless discovered something carefully hidden in Butler Jaeger's room, a contact card for the Information Guild that had dealings with House Ed. In the novel, she knew this guild would be tricked into becoming Heinrich's agents in the future, only to be saved by the main character just before their destruction. Understanding their specialization in information, Les saw their potential aid in her future plans. She resolved to put her plan into action once she could walk and speak properly again, aiming to become strong and healthy to protect House Lavian. Time passed swiftly after she made this decision. 7 years later, now 7 years old, Bless noted the appearance of charming male leads in the novel beloved by everyone, which was typical of a reverse harem storyline. Observing them made it clear why Helena had been jealous of the female lead. In the novel, the heroine Bella eventually found herself torn between multiple male leads and Bless. Bless woke up uneasily from a dream, questioning why they had said Bless instead of Bella. She felt that something was amiss. Helena asked why Bless looked upset, prompting Bless to hurriedly hug her older sister, Helena von Lavian, who was now 13 years old. Bless explained that she had a nightmare, but seeing Helena made her feel better. Helena reassured Bless, saying that if she had been in the nightmare, she would have chased away anyone bothering her. Grateful, Bless thanked Helena. In the past 7 years, many things had changed. 2 out of the 4 princes had died, leaving only the first and third princes as rivals for the throne. Additionally, Heinrich had become the next Duke. Lastly, Fabian Gold, one of the potential male leads from the novel, had been born. Bless questioned Helena about whether she was too busy to accompany her, but Helena reassured her that she did it because she missed Bless. Tearfully, Helena asked if she found her annoying, to which Bless quickly denied. Hugging her sister, Bless expressed her desire to spend the whole day with Helena. Helena reciprocated the sentiment, expressing her own wish. As Bless left, she reflected on her unease about how events were aligning with the original story. Despite this, she was determined to do everything in her power to change the course of events. In class, Bless eagerly raised her hand and addressed her tutor, Countess Lante, asking about the concept of the form of mana. Countess Lant confirmed that it was indeed different from regular mana. She explained that the form of mana referred to mana that takes physical form, and it was said that individuals blessed by mana, known as transcendents, could even communicate with it. Countess Lante mentioned that official records indicated the last known transcendents lived 1,000 years ago, making it impossible to verify their existence in the present day. Upon hearing Countess Lante's explanation, Bless grew nervous and began to sweat. She wondered aloud if the concept of transcendence was mentioned in the novel. Countess Lant continued, revealing that the transcendental figure from 1,000 years ago was the first head of House Lavian, renowned for battling the Demon King. She explained that House Lavian was known as the House of Miracles and considered the greatest adversary of the Demon King. Countess Lant noted the relevance of the day's lesson to Bless as a member of House Lavian and suggested ending the class. Reflecting on what she had learned, Bless considered the idea of mana taking a form that could be communicated with. She pondered if Cloudy, the mana entity she encountered, could possibly be related to this concept of the form of mana. Eldian remarked that it had been a while since they last met in private. Helios, the Duke of Lavian, responded that it was risky to meet inside the palace. Eldian reassured him, jokingly suggesting that since there were rumors about his brother allying with House Ed, there shouldn't be any issue if he did the same. Helios glared at him, prompting Eldian to clarify that he was only joking and reminding Helios of their deal. Helios confirmed that he would hand over the demonic sword when the time was right, but only if Eldian managed to maintain his position until then. Eldian took this as a promising answer and inquired about the banquet that night. He noted that Helios likely attended to listen to the nobles, who were saying, House Ed's bloodline will inherit House Lavian. Helios responded that he didn't know who spread the rumor, but noted that their intention was obvious. He added he didn't care which of his daughters became the next head of House Lavian. Eldian pressed him, asking if he would simply let things unfold according to their enemy's plan. Helios firmly denied this, stating that he planned on taking action soon and intended to demonstrate his continued power. He asked if this was the answer Eldian hoped to hear. Eldian confirmed it was, expressing his admiration for Helios. Helios reflected on Eldian's tendency to use people and noted that Eldian seemed more relaxed than before. Though he found it unpleasant to go along with the prince's wishes, he felt he had no choice. A knock on his office door interrupted his thoughts. It was Count Karras, the elder of House Lavian. Karras mentioned hearing about Helios attending a recent banquet and inquired about the rumors regarding House Lavian. Helios asked if that was the reason for his visit. Karras, expressing his loyalty and pride as House Lavian's vassal, couldn't understand why Helios chose to sit back and watch as the house's reputation was being ruined. Helios remained silent, not offering a reply. Count Karras expressed concerns about Lady Helena's partial House Ed lineage and the doubts surrounding House Lavian's future due to her lack of legitimacy, and mentioned that the second child was also illegitimate. He emphasized the importance of maintaining the delicate balance among the 4 great houses. Helios chuckled internally, thinking that Karras would be shocked if he knew who Bless's mother was. Helios then acknowledged Karras' concerns, asking if he wanted him to show everyone that House Lavian was still strong. Karras, taken aback, confirmed that was indeed his wish. Helios informed Karras that he had been having similar thoughts since returning from the banquet. He then announced that his upcoming birthday banquet would be a public event, instructing Karras to make the proper arrangements. Prince Rissol reflected on Helios von Lavian, the current head of House Lavian and the only person on the continent with the title of Archmage. Despite being the head of one of the four great houses, Helios was reclusive and only appeared when summoned by the emperor. He had never held an official banquet since becoming Duke Lavian. However, he was now using his first banquet to introduce his daughters, revealing a side of him that was more loving than expected. Risol was glad to have discovered Helios' weakness, concluding that if he took Helios' daughter as his wife, Helios would have no choice but to support him. Risol approached his father, Emperor Lethius Shaenolias, to discuss Duke Helios von Lavian's upcoming public birthday banquet. The emperor acknowledged being aware of the event. Risol expressed his desire to attend as the representative of the imperial family, emphasizing that it was Duke Helios' first official event. The emperor then turned to Eldian, asking if he would also like to attend, but Eldian deferred to Risol, since he had brought up the matter first. Risol fumed inwardly at Eldian's perceived insolence in ceding the role of attending Duke Helios von Lavian's banquet to him. Despite noticing Risol's annoyance, Emperor Lethius Shaenolias gave his approval for Risol to attend as the representative of the imperial family. Reflecting on his upcoming opportunity, Risol harbored thoughts of proving himself to Eldian, eagerly anticipating the day when House Lavian's support would potentially shift in his favor. Bless sat alone in her room, deep in thought. After learning that the last transcendent from 1,000 years ago was a member of House Lavian, she had done extensive research, hoping to find something that could help protect her family. She discovered that a transcendent could talk to the form of Mana and have prophetic dreams. With this knowledge, she began to wonder if she might also possess such abilities. Considering that she had been reborn 3 times, she imagined she might have at least one perk like that. The concept of the form of Mana and prophetic dreams weighed heavily on her mind. Bless thought to herself about the strange dreams she had been having lately: silver hair and blue eyes, blonde hair and gold eyes, raven hair and green eyes. Those descriptions matched exactly how the male leads in the novel looked. She mumbled to herself that she might have dreamt it simply because she already knew what they looked like. It was hard to determine if her dreams were prophetic, so she decided to set that aside for now. Her mind then shifted to the form of Mana. Cloudy had introduced itself as Mana when they first met. The form of Mana was Mana that had a shape and could be conversed with, which made sense given her circumstances. She concluded that the best course of action was to ask Cloudy directly. Bless summoned Cloudy, who appeared promptly. She asked if Cloudy was Mana that had taken form, and Cloudy confirmed it, explaining that it was Bless's form of Mana, which was why she could see it. Bless reflected on this revelation, thinking that she might actually be a transcendent in this life. Just then, Ladiette and the other maids entered her room. Ladiette asked what Bless was thinking about, and Bless, happy to see her, scurried over and hugged her. She also realized that Perry, Hexa, and Lillian were there too. Bless reflected on the unusual presence of Ladiette and the other maids, noting that they hadn't left the Western building for the last 7 years. She asked them why they were there given their usual preference for avoiding crowded places. Hexa explained that today was a special day, and Perry added that Lady Helena and His Grace would soon arrive at the banquet hall. Blushing, Bless realized that today was her father's birthday banquet, and Lillian mentioned how much effort they had put into making her look adorable, emphasizing that they had to see her off. Bless then remembered that it was also the day of her and Helena's debut in high society. Bless gasped in shock at the sight of the crowd, exclaiming that no one had told her there would be so many people. Letty asked if she was nervous and reassured her that everyone would love her. Bless nervously laughed, but internally she thought about how she had given up on earning people's approval long ago. She acknowledged that thanks to her father's protection, her sister's love, and her cuteness as a child, everyone in the manor adored her. However, she was aware that people outside might think differently. Bless understood that in a world where illegitimate children were often looked down upon, she wouldn't receive kind treatment. She recalled from the novel how complaints about her had cast doubts on Helena being the official heir, although the butler had resolved those issues in the original story. This history led some to believe Helena wasn't deserving of succession since House Lavian's power had manifested in her. Others questioned her trustworthiness due to her House Ed lineage. Bless realized that such opinions could threaten her and Helena's positions in the future, which likely explained why her father was holding this banquet for them. Bless heard her name called out and turned excitedly to see her father and Helena. She exclaimed about how incredible they both looked. Helena complimented Bless on her appearance, to which Bless responded with surprise. Helios suggested they proceed, and Bless reflected on how her family always looked at her with love. An announcement was made as the door creaked open for Duke Helios von Lavian and his 2 daughters. Bless reflected on her determination not to let anyone bother her and to stand her ground for the sake of her father and Helena. However, as people murmured among themselves about her being the illegitimate daughter, Bless realized that she had faced unwanted attention like this many times in her previous lives. The experience was exhausting, especially with so many people present. The servant asked if Bless was tired, to which she replied that it was fine and she was accustomed to bearing the burden of being the center of gossip. The servant then inquired where she had learned that phrase. Bless reflected that her father, the star of the party, was naturally busy and Helena was getting along with her peers. She noticed a boy pushing Helena and became worried, exclaiming in anger that the boy had pushed her sister. The servant, also angry, witnessed Bless angrily stabbing her cake and declaring she was going to Helena. Bless confronted the boy, yelling at him and asking what he was doing, while Helena looked surprised to see her. Bless confronted the boy, demanding to know why he was harassing her sister. The boy muttered something derogatory about Bless being illegitimate, causing Helena to glare at him fiercely. He quickly tried to explain, stating that he was only demonstrating his power of purification on Lady Helena. Introducing himself as Fray Von Agente, he claimed to be a distant relative of House Lavian with superior abilities in the family's healing magic compared to Helena. Bless and Helena were taken aback by this revelation. Fray apologized for his rough behavior but expressed disappointment that the Duke's daughter couldn't use healing magic, a skill he believed should come naturally to a direct descendant of House Lavian. Bless pondered Frey's implications, questioning whether he was suggesting that Helena wasn't deserving of being House Lavian's successor. She reflected on the nature of power within the imperial family and the four great houses, realizing that the manifestation of power didn't solely depend on direct descent. Instead, as each generation aged, the power within the family could concentrate in any suitable individual, regardless of lineage. While direct descendants had a higher likelihood of becoming the heir due to this phenomenon, it wasn't an absolute rule. House Lavian's unique power, she understood, was rooted in healing magic. Bless heard whispers among the people about Helena's abilities, noting their surprise that Helena hadn't shown signs of awakening her powers. Frey chimed in, suggesting that House Lavian's healing power could manifest through distant relatives like himself, reassuring them not to worry about Helena's apparent lack of ability. Count Karras observed the entire situation unfold. As Frey continued to speak, suggesting that the head of the house should possess certain abilities, Bless couldn't tolerate it any longer. She yelled out in frustration, feeling that although Frey was young and perhaps unaware, his words were difficult for her to endure. She conveyed to him that he had overstepped his bounds. Today marked not only Father's birthday banquet, but also a day of family unity. Regardless of his opinion of Helena's abilities, she questioned how someone claiming to care for House Lavian could undermine the family's direct descendant at such an event. His actions, she insisted, were a disgrace to House Lavian. Frey stammered in response, caught off guard by Bless's anger. She continued, furious at his treatment of Helena, and demanded an immediate apology for pushing her sister. Helena, witnessing Bless's reaction, smiled warmly. Helena joined Bless in confronting Frey, supporting her sister's stance. Bless was taken aback by Helena's unexpected intervention. Helena emphasized that while family powers extended beyond direct descendants, boasting about unconfirmed abilities was inappropriate for someone aspiring to represent House Lavian. Personally, she demanded Frey apologize to Bless for his disrespectful behavior. Bless reflected on Helena's rare assertiveness, appreciating her sister's support despite Helena's usual reluctance to speak up. However, Bless refocused, realizing now wasn't the moment for such thoughts. People around were whispering and murmuring, causing Frey to feel embarrassed. Bless reflected that while Frey seemed ashamed, he likely didn't initiate the discussion on his own. Adults must have pushed him into it. Acknowledging Frey's potential as a heir, she decided to give him a chance to redeem himself for the future of House Lavian rather than criticizing him further. Bless then addressed Frey, expressing her understanding of his pride in House Lavian, but firmly stating that his recent actions were wrong. She urged him to apologize if he truly cared for the family. Bless reflected that if Frey acknowledged his mistake and reflected on his actions, it would show he had a good side. Frey stammered out an apology for causing a commotion at such an important event. Bless felt relieved that the situation was resolved. Helios stepped in, noting that the situation had been handled. He praised Helena and Bless for managing it and expressed confidence that Frey would reflect on what happened. Helios emphasized that while he wouldn't call Frey's parents forward, Helena and Bless were direct descendants of House Lavian and his beloved children. He reminded everyone that despite being the head of the house, he was also a parent who cared deeply for his daughters. Helios asked Count Karras about his thoughts on the future of House Lavian, expressing excitement. Count Karras responded positively, indicating he now understood Helios' earlier remarks about not worrying about the house's future. Bless wondered about Count Karras' identity as he introduced himself as an elder of House Lavian. He recalled meeting Helena when she was young and praised her growth into a proud member of House Lavian. Count Karras commended Helena for handling the situation with Frey adeptly, to which Helena modestly replied that she only did what was right. Count Karras expressed that it was his first meeting with Bless. He observed her handling of the situation with Frey, noting her awareness of her position as a member of House Lavian despite her young age. This caused him to reflect on his own prejudices against illegitimate children. Count Karras speculated that she might have influenced this change in perspective within Duke Helios and House Lavian. Afterwards, Count Carus chuckled and expressed his hope to see Bless more often in the future. Bless, however, couldn't quite understand why she wasn't fond of him, reflecting on his demeanor. Helios casually mentioned that if anything were to happen to the family while he was away, Bless could seek help from Count Carus. He specifically mentioned that she could exploit him to her heart's content, which left Bless bewildered and questioning why her father would suggest such a thing. As they wondered about this, the sound of trumpets heralded the arrival of His Highness, First Prince Rissol Ino Lias of the Lias Empire. Rissol observed the surprise among the attendees at his unexpected presence, confidently reflecting that they should indeed be taken aback. He saw himself as the future leader of the empire, expecting reverence and obedience from all. Helios stepped forward respectfully to greet Prince Rissol, expressing gratitude for his visit and wishing him glory in his noble endeavors. Meanwhile, Rissol reflected on Helios von Lavian's status as the greatest mage in the empire. Rissol acknowledged the warm greeting from Duke Helios, apologizing for his delayed arrival. Helios reassured him, expressing gratitude for his presence despite the delay. Then Helios introduced his daughters to the prince. Helena curtsied before Prince Rissol, honoring the empire and introducing herself as the first daughter of Duke Helios von Lavian. Rissol observed her, considering her as a potential crown princess. Noticing Bless's glare, Rissol deduced she must be the infamous illegitimate child, Duke Helios' second daughter. Despite this, Bless also curtsied and introduced herself as the second daughter of Duke Lavian. Rissol smiled and expressed pleasure in meeting both sisters. Internally, he judged Bless for appearing at such a public event, finding her presence shameless. Helios expressed concern that Prince Rissol might find the party less exciting compared to those in the capital. Rissol responded that he doubted it, acknowledging it was Helios' birthday banquet. However, he hinted that if Helios aimed to integrate into the capital's high society formally, he would be willing to assist. Internally, Rissol considered that if House Lavian openly supported him, he could gain the support of most of the great houses. He believed even Helios would find it hard to refuse such an offer, speculating that Helios must have initiated these social activities for strategic reasons. Addressing Rissol, Helios acknowledged his generous offer and suggested giving him a tour of the manor since it was his first visit.